All right, hey guys, Sam back with you on Wednesday, November 21st, and we're going to finish up here with a look at EOS to the dollar. So I've got up a daily chart here. This is on Bitfinex, and before we get into any of the any Elliott count or any technical confluence, I thought we would just start here. I was having this conversation with a member just the other day. We're kind of just looking at this chart, going, well, if you stripped it bare, where are we? You know, it's not unreasonable to propose that if you just kind of wicked off these levels down here, right? Just working off of these pivots, we are certainly to an area. I don't know, you necessarily would call it support, but you could certainly make the case that you're at an area where previously demand has shown itself. How about we say it that way? So even if we just did something like look at the RSI, we've said, okay, how many times on a daily chart has the RSI been, this level? Well, here's 30, pin this low. Well, we look at it with a qualifier. Have we ever been this low and then made the full loop to oversold? Well, so we get this one. Here's the full loop, right? So here we get this one here, right? Full loop. Pretty substantial. We get this one, we fail at 50, come down again, can't quite get there, although that's from 418 to 678. That's not terrible. And now we're down here, now we're pinned. We're at an all-time low on the RSI. Never been this low. Now that doesn't mean necessarily that we have to come out of this and make the full trip back into overbought. You look for some signs of divergence here. Is it there? Yeah, certainly we can look at. That's the wrong tool, but you can see what I mean here. So we can work from here to here. Pretty solid divergence oscillator, nowhere near as weak. So you could make some just non-technical. If you were looking for some on the assumption that you don't think crypto is all going to zero. This is not an unreasonable spot to start looking for some accumulation. Again, I've kind of had the same conversation with regards to Ethereum. If you're a long-term believer in the crypto revolution and you are willing to make the calculated risk that crypto will survive, it's certainly an area where you can look back and see, well, there's some good things that have happened previously when prices have been down this low. So potentially an area to start accumulating just off of the structure, just off of what's happened here previously. Now, we can build a case here for a potential low. We'll get there in a second. But if you just wanted to simplify, make a pretty strong case there here, being able to buy EOS under $4. We're sitting right now $380. That's not to say that it couldn't go lower. That's not what I'm implying. I'm just saying this is an area where you might consider some accumulation. Again, this is not kids' tuition money, but you certainly could start accumulating here, anticipating, recognizing we could go lower, but at some point, if there's a move out of here, there will be opportunity to add again. So what we really need is we need to get out of this supply zone, or pardon me, demand zone. We need a little push out, and then we need to come back and test it and then have it hold and then get that kind of a move. Then you're going to have plenty of opportunities to add along the way. So sometimes just simplifying the chart and not hyper analyzing every little swing it has its place, right? So I would encourage you just to kind of look at that and say, can I make a case here that we're at a zone where there's opportunity? How about we phrase it that way? All right, let's go dig into, because I know members are looking for sort of a breakdown. So coming from that high and then looking at this, I think the most reasonable way to approach this is as an ABC. Now, it's not the prettiest I've ever seen. The first leg down in the A, very clean. I can get a nice clear impulse out of that. I got my little ABC on the B. Now, it's not relative to the length of the A. Well, I got the wrong one on here, but I can change that back. So give me a sec. We'll get our measured move back on there. So it's shallow for a B or a 2, but I get this nice little ABC. Then you look, maybe like so much of crypto, it was the second pivot that it appeared that the algos were using. So we've already, if that's the case, well, here's our 50. Got a little reaction there, got through it without much trouble. Second target, now we're to and through. Makes you wonder, what are they using? If we come back here, all right, so potentially, could it be second target? That'd put us down here at 260. certainly a possibility here. I don't love it as much because this is awfully shallow for a front run. So then we kind of got to look at it and say, well, if that is the B and that is the most that's the deepest retracement from within this move down in this downtrend from our pivot up here at 23. So likely, and given the three-wave structure, likely that's the B. Well, can I finish this in 5? Well, we got to go down to a smaller time frame here. So it looks to me like we've got a contender here. It might be too tight here. So I think I can get, so you can see it here. So if we come down here, it looks like I can get a pretty solid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming down into this one. And this, and I've shown this before, I think this is just a textbook example of an expanded flat. So I get expanded flat being 3, 3, 5. So I get an A, B, C, then a B here. We could put in a new low, right? That's the expanded. And then we come up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got, there we go. So potentially now, I think this is not unreasonable that I've got a 1 here. Well, if we've got a 1 wave, we got to wick that off. All right. So note what happens here. All right. So come here. We do not overlap it. So I have, so you could look at it and say, well, structure. Is it just that? Is it structure? Is it just coming back to this prior area of support now becomes the resistance? Certainly could be. I like this ABC here. Well, if that's the ABC, then I've got to finish. I need an impulse. If we're assuming this is accurate here, if I come down to this 3, well, you can look at, sorry, hang on, there we go. I think I'm too tight here. Let me go to a 2 hour so you can see it. If this is the 1 and this is the 2, and as I'm proposing it, Jesus, what happened to my 3? Where'd you go, 3? Where's my 5? Where the hell is my 3? No, I'll do it this way. We'll just redo it. Okay, so let me get 5 here. So coming from, if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let me get that up in a different color, and let me get it up a degree or two. So bear with me 1 sec here. We'll go sub-minute. That's fine. Okay, so if that's 1, 2, 3, if this is my 3, 4, now it looks like I've got a nice, pretty steep triangle here. So I get an A, B, C, D. I don't know what the hell I did there. E. So I've got a 1. So here's my 1, 2, expanded flat, short 3. Right. So this here is, I've just marked off the length of the third projected from the 4. Anticipating that I've got to pay attention to when does the 5th become longer than the 3rd. Right now we can see the extensions in the 1st, assuming I have this correctly identified. If this is my 1, this is my 2, well, I've got a very short 3. Well, we know 3 doesn't have to be the longest, just can't be the shortest. So here this count is invalidated. If we're going to $1, I'll call it $1.70. If we're going that low, then this cannot be the 3, and we have to rethink the whole thing. So that's just there sort of to remind me not to forget here. This is a critical level. So if we can finish this ahead of that, then this count can hold. So where are we now? Let's zoom in here. So if I've got this correctly identified, this triangle, if I have this right, so if it's 4 here, and then I'm going to go A, B, C, D, E before I turn down, well, I'm trying to finish in 5. So relative to this structure here, well, I can do a few things, right? So of course I can look for the length of the 3rd projected from the 4, right? We can see that. So here's a perfect tag of the 50. So you look at it and go, huh, well, yeah, there was structure there. We know we had that, right? So ideal here, we don't overlap. It's very close, but we get to that 50. Now here's our target down here. Here's the algo target. So if I had to bet on where this is going, we can finish the whole thing down here. We could certainly potentially now be set to finish this last 5 down here, coming down from this E wave. We could be finishing down here. So this buy zone here, call it 307, 305. You know, if you're gonna get a little front run, so it's right on $3. So 290, 290. So a little front. I'd consider the $3. Excuse me, enough of a front run here. So can we finish this? So if we come down here and look at it, 1, 2, 3, looks like maybe another triangle. Are we done yet? Well, again, same thing. Right? We can take the length of the 3 if that's correct. if that's correct. Well, we're in the zone there for that. If that's going to play as the third, got a nice little triangle here, and then I'm down here. Will I blow right through first target? Second, that kind of legs? Well, it's kind of going. It's ultimately going to be a function of do we have this correctly identified. If this is 1, 2, well, of course we can kind of help identify whether or not that's a good 3. We can take the length of the 1 projected from the 2. If that's the 3, well, here's your high probability zone. Looks like it has another kick to give us, so we can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into that 3. So it's a contender, 272, little ABC into the 4 for a triangle. Right. Then it looks like coming down here. So again, just using the same tools, length of the 1 projected from the proposed 4. Again, 272. Interesting. Right? So do we have the legs to keep going? Well, now we'd be past the 2618. Could be that we don't have this correctly identified. Could be that there's more legs in this. So then you'd have to kind of break it apart and say, well, this looks like a clean 1, 2. Could this be the 3? Or this is not a lot of help down here. You've got a little bit of divergence here, but it's well. So you could certainly make the case that here we have radical price. There's a pretty significant difference in price here, and we're essentially double bottoming an oscillator. It's not the pretty divergence that you might look for. It's a little better in the RSI. So we get, if we just looked here, you could do it here to here. If that's 3 to 5, if that is the 5, this it doesn't look like we're coming off of this impulsively. So it looks like we could have one more leg down to finish this. So this target down here is not unreasonable. That's 79 cents away. If we're going to roll over one more time, then maybe we've got something like this going into 3. We got another triangle. Wouldn't be terribly surprising, and we'd finish there. So you'd have. The 2 is a little tough to dig out of there, but it's so let me just straighten it here. So you'd have to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Possibly you get a little kicker here in the. Let me get rid of this. We get a little kicker here in the 5th. And again, just using your tools, you take the length of the 1 through 3, project that from the 4. That would take you a little bit closer down here to those larger targets. You got the 1, 2, 7, 2. Those seem to be in play here, and then just using some geometry. So we could just grab this little channel here if we need to use that to accommodate this pivot here, or are we going to call it a throw over? You could do it either way. You have a little throw over here coming back to it. So if you're working from the 2 to the 4 from the proposed 3, could we get down here and put us into December? This certainly is not the kind of, if that were our hard bottom, if that were a good bottom here, this move potentially is going to need to take more shape, right? Right now it just looks like it's yet another triangle coming down. So it just looks like we're getting this yet again, right? Just like we did here, just like we did on the larger degree. So it looks like if that breaks, there's one more push down, but I sure would be paying attention down around $3. It's incredible. EOS back to $3. So there certainly is a roadmap to get us there. Now, we don't have to go down here, but this is not unreasonable that we'd be going down to challenge that low down here around $3. Right? So with that said, I think we can wrap that up. Let's try and put this back together. Looks like those are reasonable targets down here. Best I can offer to you based on what I'm seeing here. So I think we're approaching the bottom, right? Again, it's always a question of, if you're a long-term believer, this kind of level for a project as strong as EOS is certainly tempting, right? If we come back here. Again, maybe start some accumulation here, recognizing that any sort of a move out of here, there will be a retrace, right? As the people that catch that, the temptation will be there and we get a push like that, right? So potentially now, again, that could just be an ABC, but if you get a good push and you get something like that, then you've got a motive wave coming out of the hole here, and then now we're back to $11, and you're like, damn, I wish I'd bought it down here at $3. So just something to think about. All right, that's not too far from what I plan to do. I'm already long some, so those are areas where I'd be looking to be adding. And if I could get it down here around $3, I'd be very aware of that. Let me phrase it that way. So I'd be a buyer down there. I don't know if that suits your investment plan. So, but just consider it, recognizing we keep an eye on where zero is, right? So if you're a long-term bull and we're going to come out of this, I see nothing but upside. All right, guys. Could be just the eternal optimist in me. All right. With that said, I'll wrap it here, and that'll do it up. We'll be probably closed tomorrow, but we'll be back on Friday. And you guys have a good Thanksgiving.